Welcome, empowered empaths, to the Power of Healing Your Energy show. This show is all about your unconditional love, your light, your intuition, your soul's purpose. And depression and anxiety are a side effect of not living intuitively, not trusting your gut, the lost connections with your higher self and others. Your soul's purpose is here. Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is Wednesday again. It is 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Come on in. I know you're watching from all over the world. And thank you again. This is Season 2, Episode 22. It is also February, which are twos. And I came home from a very brisk walk, and it was 2:22. Anyways, you know, I love numbers. And yes, this is the Power of Healing Your Energy show. And today I have an amazing guest, Veronica. And she is talking all about EMF radiation and protection. Now, maybe you've heard of this, maybe not. But, you know, we're going to learn more about how to recognize, you know, our symptoms. Is it Ascension? Is it EMF, sickness, and how to protect ourselves? So they can affect your body's nervous system function and cause damage. But enough about that. Veronica is an artist, a teacher, healer, and founder of iSOLA Jewelry. So she creates wearable medicine for mindful souls. I absolutely love that. And I'm going to bring her on because, you know, enough talking about me. Let's talk to Veronica and find out more about her. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Nice to be here.
So lovely to have you. And I'm on Vancouver Island, and you are?
I'm in Toronto, Ontario.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you. I have so many friends out there as well. Thank you for being here. Thank you to everyone that is here. And if just a reminder, if you're on the replay, please say hello, ask questions, let us know where you're from. And if you have any questions about Ascension symptoms or is it EMF? So maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and how this all came about for you.
Okay, so live in Toronto. Been here for about the last 25 years. I've really been a seeker for a very, very long time. And even though I've done, I've worked mostly in the film industry for the last 27 years, actually not the last 10 years, but for about 27 years, I worked in the film industry, traveled a lot. I've been really conscientious of my physical, emotional, and spiritual growth for a very long time. So I've been on, I guess you would say, more of an ascension path for the last 25 years. I've been a vegetarian, mostly vegetarian on and off for the last 25 years, and really been taking really good care of myself. And so I pay attention to my environment and what's happening inside and outside of myself. But a number of years ago, an experience had me go a whole lot deeper into my own spiritual journey, where I was forced to find a number of tools that I now help others to use, which we're going to be talking about right now, coming up. So yes, that's a little bit about me. Film industry for 27 years, and I've been designing and sharing my wearable medicine for the last 10 years. And that's about it.
I love that, wearable medicine. And why? And obviously you're working with crystals, so why is it medicine? I mean, I know what it is, but maybe someone else doesn't.
So it's wearable. It's medicine for a number of reasons on different levels. First and foremost is the fact that I use natural and semi-precious stones and crystals, which all have particular frequencies that resonate with different energies and emotions in the body. So that, first of all, is healing. Secondly, a stone that I'm most well known for using is a stone called shungite. So
Yes.
shungite is a stone from Russia, only found in Russia. One of the few stones that has almost the entire periodic table in its chemistry, which is a part of why it's so healing. But that stone has actually become popular because of its ability to neutralize the effects of radiation and electromagnetic fields. And so that stone, I actually believe it is the most healing stone on the planet. And I call it the everything stone. And the third reason is because everything that I make is beaded in a very specific mathematical pattern called the Fibonacci sequence, which is a sacred sequence of numbers that unfolds infinitely in both directions. It creates an inward and outward moving golden mean spiral into infinity using a very specific numerical pattern. And they say that the Fibonacci sequence speaks the language of our DNA and reminds it of its original fractal blueprint, and that when our DNA is exposed to this pattern in any form, it has a healing and resonant effect. So whether you're wearing it, meditating on it, or it's under your pillow, it's giving out a frequency in your environment that's good for your mind, your body, and your environment. And so on 3 different levels, it's particularly healing, and the response that I get back from people wearing it, and then also the intention that's put into it when it's being made. So yeah, it's definitely wearable medicine.
Oh, I love that. And I do have shungite actually.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, and I use shungite in my meditations for my grounding.
Mhm.
Just recently I've been doing that. It's very interesting that you brought up shungite. I mean, this is, deja vu for a reason. And I've also been talking a lot about sacred geometry. So when you brought that up, I'm like, oh man, my mind is blown. I love this.
It's all the
And
things.
yeah, and the fact that it's intention too. I because it is going to be on your body. So whoever's making it should be coming from the highest frequency.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because like when you're making it, because I'm beading in this very specific numerical pattern, you actually have to be very in the present moment. Like you can't sort of bead mindfully. You can't watch something and bead, because then you're like literally counting this pattern all day long. And so it requires you to be more focused and intentional than if I was just beading sort of just beading sort of. And so, yeah, it does require a whole different level of focus.
Yeah, like your energy. Let's say you're watching an angry show or something, or a scary
Yes,
show,
yes,
then
yes,
that's gonna
yes, yeah, yes,
that's gonna carry into it. So
yeah.
there's a lot to be said about that. I love that. Thank you for doing, and coming from such a
Oh, I think you're frozen. Um, you're frozen. I'm not sure if I am, but you're frozen, Christine. There, you're back.
I'm back. I don't know
Yes.
what happened, but you know what? That's technology.
Yes.
Considering all of us are online
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
24/7.
Yeah.
So I was just asking about your self-healing with electromagnetic. You had self-healed from that. So maybe tell a little bit about that, and then maybe tell people what to look out for.
Okay. So yeah, my exposure was back in 2009, 10. And at that time it was actually 3G. And so
Mm.
interestingly, people are far more concerned about 5G than they've ever been about 3G, because I guess the information is coming through more and more, but people have been affected by 3G. So it was 3G for me. A number of cell towers were placed on the roof of my building. And within a couple of months, symptoms started to show up. And those symptoms just sort of kept growing over the next year, even though I abandoned my apartment, I guess, within a couple of months. But my initial symptoms were chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, arthritis. I'm sorry, I'm giving you the big list. My initial symptoms were nausea and dizzy spells, sort of tingling sensations all over my body, headache, a lot of tiredness or insomnia. It was sort of like both of those things. Those were the initial symptoms. But over the next year, what they became were chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, arthritis, heart palpitations, short and long-term memory loss, tinnitus, insomnia, and then sort of trembling hands. And so it was a very long list of symptoms. There's someone named Dr. Magda Havas, who was actually a real guide to me back then, who actually calls it the rapid aging syndrome, because she said if you don't know that something is impacting you, you actually just feel like you're getting old very, very quickly. Oh, and so that's exactly what it felt like. I felt like 30 years older than I actually was. And so that's what it felt like, for sure.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I had to abandon my apartment, and it was a very long 9 months spent looking for a new home. And I'm jumping through the story sort of really rapidly.
Yes.
It took almost 11 months to get an appointment to see an environmental health doctor. And at the time, it was because they were already so busy seeing people who were showing up with things similar to what I've just described. And so during that time period, I had to start figuring things out for myself. And so I started doing a lot of research and started finding small things that I could do. Now, initially, what I was told I needed to do was to remove myself from the source. And at that point, it pretty much meant removing myself from the city to get as far away from radiation and electric and magnetic fields as I could, and to detoxify my body. Which was very difficult to do. I had a 14-year-old who was in school. I didn't have a place or anywhere to go outside of the city, so I was sort of forced to stay, which I'm kind of grateful for now. But, so those are the things I was told to do. At the time, I actually couldn't afford to see a naturopathic doctor, which would have been more helpful than a regular doctor. And at the time, I just couldn't afford it. Few doctors knew what it was. I've lived for many years without having any doctor at all. And so I initially tried to go to some walk-in clinics who sort of just kind of almost laughed at me as though I was sort of crazy that this wasn't real, and wanted to offer me medication. And so yeah, during this whole time period, I was sort of trying to find help through professionals and wasn't able to for 11 months. And so I started to figure things out for myself. And one of the first physical things that I was able to find was something called soleil drinking and oil pulling. I don't know if are you familiar with either of those things?
No, actually.
Okay. So soleil drinking is when you make what's called brine using Himalayan salt. You put it in water and then you use the brine, like a tablespoon of that brine in a glass of water, first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. It's one of the first things I started doing. So what that does is Himalayan salt has something like 80% of the minerals that the body needs to stay healthy are all in this mineral. So what you're doing is you're bathing your cells with this healing water. It repairs cellular damage throughout the body, particularly in the brain, and it raises your vibration for 24 hours. It also makes you more conductive. And I remember at the time thinking, I don't really want to be any more conductive than I am, because it just meant feeling more and more of the radiation. But what it actually did was it helped the radiation to move through you a little bit easier.
Okay.
Right. So that was one of the first things that I was able to do. And another one was oil pulling. So oil pulling, which is when you put a tablespoon of, my favorite was sunflower oil, into the mouth. And it's almost like gargling, but not really. It's like swishing it through your mouth for 5 to 15 minutes. And then you spit that out. And what that does is it draws toxins and heavy metals from within your system. And so both of those things were two of the remedies that I sort of still live by, because I had to do some of the simplest things at that time to sort of help myself kind of stay relatively healthy. I wasn't really staying healthy, but it was helping me stay a little calmer than usual. A third thing was grounding. When it got warmer, I was spending a lot of time in parks, bare feet, amongst trees, just sort of spending as much time as I could really standing barefoot on the ground. So that was one of the third things. And then the fourth thing I did was I really started to pay attention to the water that I was ingesting. I tried to make sure that all the water I was ingesting was structured water, because when you think of it, our bodies are 70 to 80% water, depending on what we're listening to. And really it's the water in us that's kind of getting zapped. It's kind of like getting irradiated. And so I just had this constant feeling that I needed to replace and replenish the water in my body. And so I started sort of upgrading the water that I drank, which I continue to do. So those were 4 things that I was able to do physically that I still share with people, other than my exposure to shungite. But I'm sort of jumping all over the place here, because really what I've been able to do is break it down to three portals for healing: 3D, 4D, and 5D, which handles 3G, 4G, and 5G, right? And so while it was still 3G and I wasn't really thinking, 3D, and I wasn't really thinking about 5D, the tools I was guided to use were 5D tools. So I was guided in a meditation to use, actually should I describe the meditation to show you just how
Go for it. Yeah.
So after spending 9 months just really physically challenged, trying to find a new home, and everywhere I went, I carried a meter with me so that I could measure the radiation. But I'd keep the meter in my pocket with one earphone in so that the landlord wouldn't think I was crazy, sort of measuring for radiation exposure, because they would call us tinfoil hat wearers at the time.
Oh, yeah. Or
still do. But I understand why anyone would wear a tinfoil hat. But so everywhere I went, I would sort of measure the home for the exposure. And I finally found a home where I measured at the window and the exposure was quite low. So I took the home. But on the day that I was moving in, my body pretty much told me that I wasn't going to be able to sleep in this house. It told me that I was more exposed than I realized. And what I realized was that the windows in this home was made with this glass called low E glass. And low E glass is the glass that they're putting into all of the new condominiums and homes that keeps out radiation. Now, they will tell us that it's made to keep out UV rays from the sun, but it's really made to keep out radiation. So I was measuring at the windows, not realizing this. So while it wasn't coming in the window, it was coming in every single wall, door, and the ceiling. And so that was probably my lowest point the next couple of weeks, because I really just felt like I couldn't survive in this house. And so I had to get myself what's called an RF canopy. And it's sort of like a mosquito net, but it's made with silver and cotton, which I now sleep in. And on one of the first days that I slept in this canopy, I should say, one of the first days, my daughter went to school. I got back into this canopy and started to try and meditate. And I couldn't meditate. I just sort of burst into tears, couldn't stop crying, and was having an angry conversation with God, and was guided to get my pendulum and start to ask really specific questions. And so I asked if I'd made a mistake moving into this house, and it said no. I said, but doesn't it have high radiation? And it said yes. I said, is this where I'm supposed to be living? It said yes. I said, could I die in this house? It said yes. I said, will I die in this house? It said no. And I said, could I thrive in this house? And it said yes. And so I kept asking these questions because I was really confused at first. And as I was continuing, I sort of got this download that basically something bigger was going on. And then the further guidance I was given was that I'd had 9 months to get my feet back on the ground, and that I had work to do, and that I already had the tools to do the work. And I was to do it in this house. And then I knew at that point that the work was using consciousness. And from that moment on, I started creating affirmations. And the beginning of my reversing this was the day that I wrote my first affirmation. So I still live in the same house. I'm thriving in the same house. And it's been, I guess 8 years since then. But affirmations became the most important tool.
Wow. That's powerful. And I do remember hearing your story, because I found out about you through someone else's podcast. I think it was last year. And I'm like, this is amazing, because, when you're highly sensitive, which many of us are realizing, depending on where they are in their journey of consciousness, right? You're just like, you're surrounded by it. Yes. So this canopy I've heard that there's clothing. What other things can you do to protect yourself?
So in terms of physically protecting yourself, you can physically protect yourself from 3G and 4G, but not from 5G. So when it comes to 3G, a canopy will protect you. It actually keeps out like 99.9% of the radiation. There's paint you can get for your walls, a carbon paint that you can get for your walls that'll keep out radiation. And there's a lot of things you can do physically to recover, right? Eating more alkaline food, cell salts, the things I mentioned earlier. There's a very long list of things you can do physically. When it went to 4G, you had to sort of work a little bit harder, and then it became working on the emotional level, right? So every single symptom is a mirror of something that some block we have in the physical body, which of course means we have a block in the emotional body, which of course means we have a block in the mental and spiritual body, right? And so when it went to 4G, you sort of had to step up the work that you did, and you had to move beyond physical things. And if you were, on a path, you were also working on the emotional things, but the 4D required that. So it was a little deeper work, a little more work. But 5G, there is nothing that I know of at this point that can actually protect you from it. It's faster, it's stronger. The cells, like the infrastructure itself, like there's smaller towers, but there's going to be far more of them. And really what they're trying to do is they're trying to create a system that can handle AI, that can handle cars driving by themselves. And so the connection has to be a lot faster. No dropping connections when you're driving a car. And so I think I saw the other day, so 4G, let me see if I wrote it down, because it would just sort of tell you that just the difference in numbers. I don't have it anywhere close to me, but I think it's sort of like 4G could handle up to 4,000 different devices sharing information in a certain radius. 5G can handle up to 1 million.
Oh, gee, wow.
Right. And so that's a lot of technology moving through all of our spaces at once. Right. And so there is nothing at the moment that it can't go through. But really what has become clear to me, that the same tools that we are using to raise our frequency as we move and become a more fifth dimensional being on a fifth dimensional planet are the same tools required to move beyond, transcend the effects of 5G.
Yes, no, I understand that, and thank you for those tips. I mean, the grounding, the barefoot. For me, I like my Epsom salt bath, and the Himalayan salt. That's great. I will try that, but I take a tablespoon of fire cider that I made, or I'm eating sauerkraut. I'm just exploring all different kinds of ways, but the oil pulling I definitely will do. I keep hearing about it, so. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yes.
Gosh. So now you talked about the symptoms of the EMF, your exposure. What are the Ascension symptoms? Because we mentioned that they are similar.
Yes, you know what I'm actually going to do? I'm actually going to pull out a list. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read from this list the neurological symptoms of VHS that Ascension symptoms have in common, and then I'll just keep going down. And the reason I started to really put these two together is because I've been on both paths now for quite a while. The Ascension one actually longer, just been a slow, solid path for me. But the other day I was listening to someone a channeler who is on this path, and she's a brilliant person sharing brilliant information. But I heard her the other day, and she was talking to her audience on her computer with her wireless headphones on. And what she was actually saying to them was that she was having sharp pains in her heart, that she actually felt like she was having a heart attack. And she asked them, is anyone else having these Ascension symptoms? And I was almost horrified, thinking, oh my goodness, it's probably because you spend a lot of time in front of a wireless laptop or desktop with wireless headphones, and that it was exposure to this technology, right? And so I've known that they've been sort of similar for as long as I've been electro-hypersensitive. But I never really sort of tried to say, well, no, it's electrosensitivity. It's not Ascension symptoms, because it's quite possible that, well, it is a fact that people are having Ascension symptoms who could be living in the desert without any technology, right? So it's not automatically that they're both the same thing, but realizing how much they intersect can make a really big difference if you're suffering from the symptoms and at the same time you're sleeping with your cell phone or your laptop underneath your bed, right? And so
Simple
the symptoms, do you know what I mean? And so the symptoms for electro-hypersensitivity that Ascension has in common are headaches, dizziness, nausea, fuzzy brain, memory loss, mental confusion, irritability, depression, anxiety, insomnia, fatigue, weakness, tremors, muscle spasms, vertigo, numbness, tingling, altered reflexes, muscle pain, joint pain, leg and foot pain, and flu-like symptoms. Now, those are just the neurological. Now, I don't have the list. I thought I did that had, oh, I do. So in terms of cardiac, the ones that they have in common: palpitations, arrhythmia, pain in the chest, pressure in the chest, racing heartbeat, shortness of breath, dermatological, skin rash, burning, facial flushing, ears burning, hair changes, skin rashes. All of those are in common with electrohypersensitivity. And then other symptoms in common: digestive problems, tinnitus, abdominal pains, unusual aches and pains, light sensitivity, sound sensitivity, and loss of hair.
Oh my goodness.
That was a
Wow.
long, kind of almost random sounding list. So everything, so now electrohypersensitivity has a longer list of symptoms, and there are a few symptoms that are Ascension symptoms that are not symptoms of electrohypersensitivity, but there's far more that they have in common. And it's really just to be able to identify which it is, because people don't mind having Ascension symptoms if we know that it's a part of our evolution. But electrohypersensitivity, it's not something that a lot of people are aware of or looking at.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to circle back. Marge or Leanne is joining us. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. And feel free to ask any questions you have about symptoms. I thought that was, I've been seeing tinnitus coming up a lot. And it's funny you say this is cardiac, because if you think about, the pandemic
Mhm.
and you think about anxiety and depression, a lot of the clients I work with have heart issues, and not just with the chakra, but it's
Yeah.
like it's being attacked
Yes. Yeah.
through that channel, through the fear. And then there's also the tinnitus, which some people think, oh, those are my Ascension symptoms, but it could also be a symptom of high blood pressure or some
Mhm.
type of heart issue.
Yes. Well, a lot of people, like for the past year, are spending far more time in front of their technology because they're at home. And tinnitus, interestingly, actually used to be called microwave hearing. I think in the early 1900s, electrohypersensitivity existed, but it was called neurasthenia. And my guess is they've just changed the name over the years so that you can't really identify that it was always from exposure to electromagnetic fields. But tinnitus used to be called microwave hearing because that's what we're actually hearing. And the fact that I had it intensely when I just towards the last few months when I got sick in my apartment and after I left, I no longer have tinnitus. And so I thought it was something because I was aging. Like I researched, I was like, wow, this is tinnitus. I guess I'm getting older. But I no longer have it. It's been almost 10 years since I've had tinnitus. Now, if I go into a certain environment with a certain frequency of radiation, it'll pop on, right? And then I'll just know that I'm exposed to something particularly high. And so if people pay attention to when it's there and when it's not, it generally has something to do with technology. Oh, you're frozen again. I'm not sure if I'm frozen, but you're
Fine.
frozen, Christine. Oh, there you are.
We're back. We're back.
Was I frozen too?
Yes, you were.
Okay, so we both freeze. Okay.
We
Okay.
were. Marge is just saying that she's aware of people sleeping in EMF shielding bed shelters.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of like the canopy that you were talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
And isn't there clothing too? I thought I seen somebody.
There is. There's a lot of clothing, but intuitively, I wouldn't personally wear the clothing, because like when you sleep in a canopy, for instance, it's made of silver and cotton, which I guess there is some sort of something metallic in the fabric in order to keep something out. But it needs to be grounded, or there can't be any electrical fields around the canopy, not above, below, or around it. So all
Okay.
of the circuits are generally turned off in my house. if I sleep with all of the circuits turned on, I actually feel like I'm in an electric bubble. And if I touch the fabric, which is conductive, I feel like I'm actually touching something that has current running through it.
Ooh.
And so the idea of putting clothing against my body, and I know it's gotten really popular, but I was at an EHS symposium. I guess it would be more than a year ago now at the Environmental Health Clinic in Ontario, and someone was speaking, and someone asked about the clothing, and they nixed it. And I remember there was someone sitting in front of us who was actually wearing a toque with that fabric in, just to keep it off their head, and we watched them take it off. And this was a person who was highly electrosensitive. And for me, especially if you're electrosensitive, I personally wouldn't wear it.
Mm.
But I can't say I've tested it personally, so someone has to test it. But my intuition says that I would notice it more, you know?
Yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I just had an image of silver and gold bars. So should we have that under our bed, all around us like a pyramid? No, I don't think
No,
so.
no. But like, I mean, it's actually one of the reasons I started making jewelry. It had nothing to do with my illness at first, other than the fact that I could no longer wear my silver. I used to wear like a whole stack of silver bangles and bracelets. I wore silver. I just wore a lot of silver. And during that time period, it was really obvious to me that wherever I had a lot of metal against my skin, I noticed the radiation more. And so for me, it was really one of practicality, because I always wear, like you see, I always have on, you know what I mean,
Yes.
stats and stuff, and I couldn't wear my own jewelry. And so that was the reason I started beading. And so even though I put silver on my jewelry, I don't circle my neck or my wrist with silver. You'll find spots of it in places, but my relationship to wearing it has changed.
Oh,
You
that's
know?
very interesting. Okay, that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
Yes. Yeah.
That's probably why I love just wearing crystal or beads
Yes. Yeah.
or garnet. I mean, that's my birthstone. I love it.
Oh,
Um,
beautiful.
Marge is asking about ascension symptoms.
Okay. So what's the question about? So I read a long list
Yeah, she
of
did write a
essential
long
symptoms.
list already. You'd have
Yeah.
to go back, but I guess maybe your top 3. Do you have a top 3?
Top 3. I would say, I would say tiredness,
Mm,
headaches,
yeah.
tiredness, nausea, and
Mm,
then aches and pains.
yeah. And I would actually throw in headaches.
Yeah.
I get a lot of clients that are their third they get headaches. I said, "Well, your
Mhm.
third eye. It's related to your third eye because we're working on opening all of their energy and their meridians."
Mhm.
So when they finally realize what that is, anyways, it's I mean, it's not fun
It's
for them.
opening.
I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
For
Well, I
them.
mean, the body is definitely working harder to upgrade, and so it's just great to be aware of it. But it's sort of like if you're having like heart pains for like 6 months, then it's probably like for me, ascension symptoms, they sort of rise and fall, and they rise and fall.
Yes.
Like each time your body's doing a bit of a shift or an upgrade. But to have heart problems for 6 months, and I come across people who are having that kind of experience, who will say that they've been to the doctor, they're telling the doctor something's wrong with them, and the doctor actually can't find anything wrong with them, which is really, for me, a telltale symptom that that's what it is, because electrohypersensitivity is not a physical problem, it's a frequency problem. Right. So your electrical body is being affected. So they won't find anything physical. However, if you allow your electrical body to be affected for an extended period of time, it becomes physical.
Yes.
Right. Then it becomes all of those things that I had symptoms of. It actually becomes an experience of those things.
Love it. And
Right.
that's why I love, the show that I do. I made that connection. Once you heal your own energy,
Yes.
you're the frequency of everything.
Yeah.
Nothing outside of you, really. And
Mm.
it's just a matter of taking care of yourself. So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing your story. Um, yes, I'm a Capricorn too. And Veronica, well, your birthday's next month. So
Yes. Yeah.
yes.
Yes, good old March, Aries. But yeah, when we think about it, the way I used to think about it when I was sort of going through it was that, we've sort of created for ourselves with this man-made frequencies, we've created an illness that we have no medication for. And so I call 5G I call it a catalyst and a taskmaster, because what it's forcing us to do is the very same thing that's required to become more 5D.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's interesting that it's 5G and that what's required is 5G tools. It's forcing us to go inside, to heal what needs to be healed on the physical, emotional level, and to reconnect with ourselves as spiritual beings.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what we're really being called to do, and it's kind of forcing us to do that a little faster than we might have.
Than what the ego had planned, or
Yes,
you know.
yes, 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 for sure.
Not always the way. But
Yes.
it's a beautiful journey, guys. You gotta enjoy the ride. It is a ride.
It is. It is. Especially if you kind of have an idea of where you're going. But
Yeah.
yeah, I know for the beginning of my journey, it was random. It really just felt like life had thrown me under a bus. And I
Mm,
had no understanding, like, how could life do this to me? How could God do this to me? And it wasn't till that meditation that day that I tapped in, and spirit kind of said to me, no, 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 you have work to do, and you
mm,
already have the tools. And the minute I recognized, oh, there's a small part of me, I know very early on, wrote, this too shall pass. So
yeah.
some part of me knew that it wasn't forever, but there was so much time spent really just feeling like this was the end of life for me. But the minute I got a clue that there was, okay, there was a mission, there was something I was here to do, and there was an end point, the hope level just went so much higher that it made such a difference. The first affirmation that I wrote really became the most important medicine to me. But it was that guidance from inside that said, no, you've got this, you can do this, there's a reason here. You're
Mhm.
not here randomly. You're here for a reason. So it
Yeah,
made such a difference.
lovely. Do you remember your first affirmation?
Oh, for heaven's sakes, yes. It's a really long one, but it was what was needed. Because when we create affirmations, like how I always think of it, is like if we've got a problem over here, we create an affirmation over here to bring us back to 0 point from which we can create whatever direction. So this very long affirmation, which you can find on a website, which I'll tell you about after. So the affirmation is: exposure to microwave radiation and other forms of electric and magnetic frequencies confirms my body's natural ability to maintain radiant health, strength, and vitality, and reminds me that my body is a divine body and all is well, no matter the environment, the exposure, my genetic makeup, or what happened yesterday. All is well. And I know that it's
Powerful.
it's really long. It is. It's sort of, once you commit it to memory and really listen to it, what it's actually doing is you're telling your DNA that when it's exposed, because I couldn't take away the radiation. I couldn't do anything about my environment. But what I could do was tell my DNA that when it experienced this environment, it was going to have a completely different reaction that proved to me that I was a divine being. And over time, I believe it worked.
It definitely did. Thank you so
Yes.
much. I love that.
Yeah.
I work with affirmations and decrees and all that as well, so I love that. Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Wow, Marge, she is keeping us busy today. Thank you. She's saying, I mean, I don't know what ascension is. It sounds like going to heaven before dying. People often talk about being woke. Well, I have my own thoughts on that, but you go ahead.
I'd like to hear yours too, but you know what? That's not a bad definition. Going to heaven before dying. It's kind of like you're moving to the next level, next dimension, the next octave of your spiritual being without dying, so that you can sort of move through with all consciousness, with all memory, with access to all memory, period, if that makes sense. That is kind of, I'm not sure if I would use the word woke, because that word just has a whole new meaning these days. But it is kind of like, yeah, I'm sort of reading it. It's kind of like, yeah, raising, I also think of it as raising your physical vibration, becoming more of a light being, so that you become more of a vessel for your higher self. I always think of higher self as existing sort of out and around me, still connected to me, but sort of around me. But this is sort of, it will live through me, and I will live directed and guided by my higher self in full connection 24/7, and anchoring more of my fifth dimensional skills and tools,
Yeah.
telepathy, very long list. I'd love to hear yours though.
Yeah, no, I mean, I always say, beam me up. No, I see it as a spectrum. I mean, we are all beautiful beings of light. We are perfectly whole as we are, and it's all about upgrades. I mean, we upgrade all the time. Can I upgrade this? Can I upgrade that? That's exactly what we're doing. It's just at the time, it's like you said, coming back to 0 point, coming back to one, because that's where we all live. That's who we all are. We are all connected. We all have gifts, and we're all here for a reason. And your time is now. And I think that, when we say woke, personally, my personal opinion is that's an ego-based term, and it's a dissociation from self. I mean, you can, that's just my opinion. You can tell me your opinion, but and Ascension, I don't see it as levels. I see us all as diamonds, I think of that song, Shine Bright Like a Diamond. You got that 0 point, you think of pyramids. We're all remembering who we are.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. And we're here to do things, not just buy a house, have a job and a car, and then die. No. If we didn't learn the lesson, and I don't want to even use lesson, if we didn't fulfill our soul contract, we are coming back to do it again.
Again and again and again.
So I don't know about you, but I don't want to do it again. I know why I'm here.
I absolutely agree with you. I feel like I remember years ago, I won't remember the affirmation now, but it really spoke to sort of completing my mission in this life here and now. And I actually, when I hear the word woke, like I love what you said about it, because I think of awake as different than woke.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I even feel a difference between those two.
The vibration.
Like the woke almost has a us and them, whereas awake is just really, it's like a flower just sort of opening up. And yet, if we connect Ascension with the idea of 5D, because some people sort of have asked me about it, sort of like, okay, now I'm in 5D. It's kind of connected to what you just said. It's a continuous path. We've been on the Ascension path since we got here. Maybe we're becoming more aware of it now, but in the same way, 5D, it's not a here and there, like a now and then. It's continuous and it's fluid. Like I can spend a morning feeling like really 5D and then go out and be driving in my car and, get really impatient and swear at the person in the next car. And in that moment, I've dropped back into 3D behavior, right? And so it's really fluid. And the aim is to really do the work of spending more and more time experiencing more fifth dimensional vibrations, feeling more at ease, feeling more at peace, feeling more calm, more abundant. But it's very fluid, and we are in control of how much time we spend in each of those things. And so it's a constant journey and constant practice.
Yeah, it's like waves, frequencies.
Yes.
We're all in this together.
Yes.
Marge, born January 11th. All right. Got a fellow Cappy in the house. Woo. Michaela sending us lots of love and hearts, and she's sharing. She's new. Welcome. Thank you so much.
Hello,
sending lots of love to you. Definitely send any questions that you have, even if you're on the replay. If you're not sure, and maybe you're very sensitive and you're not sure what's going on and what the difference is and how to protect yourself. But this whole interview, you'd have to go back. I might do some timestamps for folks so they can go, okay, this is where she talked about what I can do and what Ascension is and what the, being the sensitive soul, what the symptoms are.
Mm-hmm.
And Marge is just saying it was a really long affirmation, but you have memorized it, so it works.
But you know what? There's so I have a website which I'll just share now, but you could probably share the link. It's called sogrounded.com, and it's actually spelled SOWE grounded. Which stands for salt, oil, water, and earth. The same 4 things I was mentioning earlier. Yes. And on there, it's on a page, you can download it. And particularly if someone is actually electrosensitive, I really highly recommend it. And you can take it and switch it up if you need to. But reading that, it actually it does the job of bringing you back to 0 point. It has everything that's necessary to sort of just the equal and opposite vibration of what we're experiencing. So yeah, you'll find it on there, and then you can download it and carry. I used to carry it around written on a piece of paper until I memorized it.
Oh, wow.
You
That's
know,
beautiful.
but yeah, there was
Uh,
there was oh, there was something I just. Oh, so there was something that was going to follow that I've forgotten about.
It's all good. You know what? Things are moving so quickly, our emotions. I mean,
Yes.
I want to talk about a scale. Like you were saying, 1 minute you're 5D and then you get in the car and you're 3D. We
Mhm.
are all going through this together, guys. We are all feeling this. Just because we work in these areas or whatever, we're all going through this. I think of Lori Ladd and I think of Lee Harris. They're
Mhm.
very, very powerful.
Yeah.
And people that are talking about Ascension and all of
Yes.
that. So,
Yes.
and they're going through it too.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we're all in this together. We are not separate from
Mhm.
our emotions and what we're feeling.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, Go
It's
ahead.
it's making me think of there's a doctor in, I think he lives in California. Doctor. I want to say Kilberger, but I know that's not it. It's close to that. I'm sorry if I've
It's
messed up
all
the name.
good.
But what he used to say is, like, I remember when I was going through this, really feeling vulnerable, and a lot of people used to call us canaries in the coal mine. And if you
Mm,
look up what that is, that's really a canary who dies in the coal mine, and the fact that they don't come out tells you that it's not safe to go in. So I never really appreciated that term, because it's like, what are you telling me? I'm going to die in here? But what he had to say really made me have a completely different view of it. What he said was, those people who are electrosensitive, and I just think of it as sensitive, period. Those people who are electrosensitive, we should want to be those people, because those people are the people of the future. And at the time, I remember thinking, what is he talking about? Does he have any idea how much we're suffering? But what he went on to say was, as electrical beings, we should be more concerned with the fact that we are not feeling these frequencies than they are concerned with the fact that they are. Right? Because he said all the things that we are doing to numb ourselves, whether it's medication or coffee or anything we can do to stop feeling, whether it's energetic or physical, is preventing us from sort of awakening these electrical senses that we have, that are part of their tools and gifts. And so, the way that I finished that was, for those who can feel the frequencies, they're going to figure out how to navigate them. Right?
mm.
If they're negative, they're going to figure out how to heal them. If they're positive, they're going to figure out how to anchor them and expand them. But if you're not feeling them, it's kind of like walking more asleep than awake. you
Yes,
know and
zombies,
so,
basically.
yeah, and so I really love that description, and it actually made me turn the canary into the coal mine into a phoenix rising from the ashes. And I started
Mm.
started thinking of myself more like that, and really to think of sensitivity as a gift, as opposed to a weakness, as opposed to, because they make it sound like it's almost like a feebleness, right? But it's actually a gift.
It is, absolutely, and I think that's part of the dark agenda as well. That's an old paradigm
Yes.
that they tried to feed us, and guess what? It don't hold space anymore because we're
Yes.
we're awake.
Yes.
We're seeing this. As
Yeah.
they say, see the illusion, or know the truth. I mean, or respect, you can respect it, but I'm like, okay, I see it.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for sharing everything. I could talk to you for hours.
I
You
know.
have so much knowledge, and we didn't even get to talk about your jewelry or anything, but we did talk a little. But is there anything else you'd like to share, and how can we reach you? What's the best way to reach out, other than you did share your website, or that one
Oh,
website?
so the best way to reach out, I suppose, guess I guess it would be on my website. If they sign up on my website, if they wanted to get any follow-up information from me, I usually share when I'm doing things, other talks or workshops. I do have a Facebook page, Facebook at iloveisola.com. My website is actually iloveisola.com, which is where my jewelry is housed.
Yes.
And very soon I'll have a website that's actually veronicaciandre.com, that you can find everything. Because as I do this more and more, I need to have a central place for people to find the information. And then following me on Instagram is a really good place to find out anything that I'm doing, or to communicate with me.
Wonderful. And I have all the links for that as well, guys. So you can just go back to the post at the top, and I did put the other website, so grounded.com. So you guys can check that out too if you're curious. And oh man, like I said, this is such a great topic, and being, highly sensitive myself, and you, and there's so many. Yes. Oh, yeah. She's just checking. Marge is just checking. Yes, that's her.
That's me. If I could share one more small thing to keep in mind, or I guess it'd be two more small things to keep in mind.
Sure.
One would be that if you can raise your vibration beyond that which is affecting you, you become like a walking clear quartz crystal. So that when you enter a space, if there's any toxic frequencies that are about, they move through you, they ground through you, they get healed through you.
Yep, I got mine.
As opposed to affecting you. And I think that's it. If you raise your frequency beyond that which is affecting you, it will no longer affect you.
Yes, and I work with clients on how to do that.
And
it's something you practice every day.
Yes.
Day. You got to do it. You got to do it, guys.
That's the work.
That's the work. Are you guys ready? Well, thank you so much. And I left all the links for you guys as well. I just wanted to do a few housekeeping as well. I wanted to let you know every Saturday I have a free group, and I'm going to actually be bringing in some experts too as we go along. It happens every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you'd like the link to sign up, it's going to be through Zoom. Just reach out, or you can comment "soul," and I'll get you the link for you. It's completely free. It's an hour, and I believe we've got about 8 ladies signed up so far. So I'm looking forward to seeing you there. As well, if you're looking for more information on the energy of the month, February Energy Update is up on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts as well, and it's streamed out through Facebook. All right. And I'm always taking folks in for my mentorship. It's the one-on-one Unleash Your Magic mentorship, and it happens year round. So comment magic if you'd like more information. If you're not sure if you're ascending and what your soul's purpose is and all that stuff, definitely reach out. There's been quite a few ladies in the group already that have graduated, and they're doing amazing things. So thank you so much, guys, for being here. I love you. Please stay safe, take care, be kind, and all that good stuff. Take care of yourself. And please remember, healing begins where the ego ends.